Hello there, you're watching Reality Check Friday Report. I'm Maha Siddiqui. India and Canada are once again in a zone of diplomatic discomfort. 4 days after a Khalistan referendum was held in Canada by a group that is banned in India, that's Sikhs For Justice, India has now issued an advisory for Indian citizens, including students travelling to Canada. The statement from India says there's been an increase in hate crimes, sectarian violence, as well as anti-India activities in Canada, and hence due caution needs to be exercised by Indians. India's engagement with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been difficult anyway. Trudeau had attended a Khalsa Day parade in Toronto in 2017, where he gave a speech and was photographed in front of a Khalistan separatist flag. He then travelled to India in 2018, and his visit was a fiasco on many counts, including a photo where his wife was seen with a former pro-separatist, in fact, a Khalistan convict. And then his comments on the farmers' movement in India in 2020 didn't add to any improvement of relations between the two sides. India was only miffed with that. Meanwhile, gangster Goldie Brar continues to operate from Canada, and recently he took responsibility for having ordered the killing of Sidhu Moosewala. So is this a culmination of many events that have followed in Canada which have made India uncomfortable? The advisory today that has been issued for citizens travelling to Canada. Is the statement from India also political messaging in the backdrop of such developments, or is Canada unsafe for Indians? That's the question that we pose this evening. Going across straight to our guests on the show. Prabjot, he's an Indian student in Canada. Vishnu Prakash, a former spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs and former High Commissioner of India in Canada. Manjeet Rai, leader of Punjab BJP. Dr. Joy Kumar, national spokesperson of the Congress Party. And Gurpreet Singh Nijjar, he is a journalist of Radio Punjab in America. Ambassador Prakash, I want to first come to you, sir. Is this advisory surprising?
Greetings, Maha. Good to be on the program with you. No, it is not surprising. This has been a problem, I must say, for a very long time, because Canadian politicians have generally pandered to the vote bank politics, and they have been soft toward the Khalistani elements. But as you very rightly noted, ever since Prime Minister Trudeau has assumed office, things have become a little more disturbing. I like your usage of the word diplomatic discomfort. That is a slight understatement. It is more than discomfort, because the policies of the present government have been prejudicial in so many ways to the interests of India. And now what has happened is that the Trudeau government is in a minority. They are seeking the support of Jagmeet Singh, who is the head of the National Democratic Party. And Mr. Jagmeet Singh makes no bones about it. He is a Khalistani sympathizer. So that is the problem, because they time and again turn in Nelson's eye towards the activities. And as the spokesperson said, the perpetrators are never brought to justice. Maha.
Yes. Manjeet Rai, despite the fact that the Khalistani sentiment does not exist in Punjab, how dangerous can this issue be?
They are trying from Canada. They are saying get the referendum in Punjab, but the people are not responding to them, because already we are going to referendum, give the referendum to the people within 5 years. Or at every corner, either be a panchayat election, corporation election, that is also referendum for the people. They are casting their votes in the favor of the governments, and they give the governments to the people. Elected their representatives, why they are saying they are sitting on the land of Canada, and the people of some, just like Trudeau and their colleagues, they are giving initiative to them. That's why in Punjab there is no chat and no one want this Khalistan, etc.
Dr. Joy Kumar, You just heard Ambassador Vishnu Prakash talking about how this issue has been festering for some time now, and India has now, started speaking about it more vocally. Do you think that this matter has been taken up effectively now? Because the advisory also points out today, and as Ambassador Prakash also said, that perpetrators have not been brought to book. This is what the advisory says. So clearly India is suggesting that despite taking up this issue, Canada hasn't done very much. Do you think then our moves have been effective enough?
Look, the first issue is whether the Sikhs For Justice is creating trouble in Canada is a fact now. They are creating trouble. It's also pretty insane to have a referendum in a foreign country. You're a citizen of Canada and you want to have a referendum on a state in India. So the whole issue is beyond the theatre of absurd. Who takes part in a referendum? The people of the state. The people of Punjab recently, the last Punjab election, 72% of the people voted. 72% of the people voted. People keep coming out for elections. People in Punjab are least interested in these kind of elements. But across the world, all NRIs, whether you see the Khalistani movement in Canada, whether you see the fringe elements of both the Hindu and the Muslim sects going bonkers across in different parts of the world, the ability for you to continuously fish in troubled waters. I just heard that the Consul General of Pakistan also attended from Vancouver, met people. So, bottom line is, I think the India's concern is valid. Whether it's safe for Indians and all, I don't know. I just should make a comment because I have no clue. The Ministry of External Affairs will be better informed. I don't think they're targeting Indian people as such because that would be ridiculously stupid. But anyway, that we need to verify. But the fact is, I think on these issues, whether it's the Congress, BJP or anybody else, all of us have one voice to speak that any kind of forces which are inimical to India's interest, which continue to create a storm in a teacup overseas. And I just want to say one thing, and it's it's a theatre. The Canadian government itself has to take action against people because, look, if the similar kind of, let's imagine that India started taking a referendum on the French-speaking areas of Canada. And saying that, listen, we decide that all the 20,000 Canadians will come to India for some holiday and we'll do another referendum, that whether you want to be. So this kind of nonsense has to stop. And Canadian and Prime Minister Trudeau, I think, has to has to ensure, dignity of international relationship. If Mrs. Trudeau goes and is seen, if it's inadvertent, it's all. You're not blaming her. But if it's calculated and they are actively meeting people who are propagating a separatist ideology against the interests of this country, I think we need to be very careful. So I think Ambassador Vishnu Prakash also put it appropriately, and my colleague from the Bharatiya Janata Party also, I think, has said on national issues. I think this is that's. Net, it's so crazy to have a referendum by Canadians in Canada about something in India.
Absolutely. And we've heard the Ministry of External Affairs speak about that. Yesterday, the spokesperson Arindam Bagchi also expressed a deep dismay at the fact that a friendly country would allow that. Let's quickly listen into what he said and then we'll come back to the discussion.
Basically, we would term it as a farcical exercise. A farcical exercise was held by the extremist and radical elements supporting the so-called Khalistan Referendum in Canada and elsewhere, I think. The matter has been taken up with the Canadian authorities through diplomatic channels. However, we find it deeply objectionable that politically motivated exercises by extremist elements are allowed to take place in a friendly country. You're all aware of the history of violence in this regard. And the Government of India will continue to press the Government of Canada on this matter.
All right, let me now go across to Gurpreet Nijjar. He's also with us now on the show. Gurpreet, I understand that you're based out of America, but What have you heard from the other side, from the across the border? Has there been any visible increase in crimes against immigrants as well? Let's now not talk about the Khalistan issue only, because there were at least 3 issues mentioned in that advisory by the Indian side, and one of them said there is an increase in hate crimes, there is an increase in sectarian violence, and increase in anti-India activities. We've spoken about anti-India activities. Help us understand about hate crimes.
Hate crimes are increasing, no doubt. It's across the border also. Here in America also hate crimes also increasing. But I didn't understand why these types of baities are giving to these all referendum. Do you know how many percent votes are needed for the referendum? There are 3 crores Sikhs in the world, and the votes are just 1.5 lakhs. Actually, the person which are taking these all practices, referendum, they are not honest, and now they are very happy. They are existing only on the social media. Really, they are nothing anywhere. And the worker or the youths who got encouraged from their speeches like these things, when you talk to them personally, they will be different. On the social media, they will be different. But then also in their heart, they have a corner about that we should take our land. India is India is cruel to us. We will have our own empire sometime. The Jews have in corner, because a youth who born here never visit Punjab. He also think, yes, we will have something our empire. We should.
गुरप्रीत, लेकिन गुरप्रीत, जब आपने स्टार्ट किया तो आपने अपना जवाब में ये बोला कि हम क्यों ऐसे जो सिक्स फॉर जस्टिस जैसे ग्रुप्स हैं उनको क्यों हम इतना वेटेज देते हैं, आप यही कह रहे थे ना? Am I getting you right?
Right.
Okay, so let me take that question with Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. So why should we take this issue seriously? Can you help us understand why raising an objection to such activities, even though they are happening miles away from India in another country, is important?
A very valid question. It is a secessionist group, and it is raising money in Canada. It is fanning anti-India sentiment. So what should we do? Should we wait for it to wither out or peter out? It is not likely to, because it's a business. They control, unfortunately, the gurudwaras. They make money, and they fan the flames. So you have to, and by the way, there are certain reports to say that money is then transmitted at times to India, to some elements in India or to Pakistan. So it is directly impacting India. Secondly, this is like a cancer which can grow. So you do not want the cancer to grow. And, for the soil of a country like Canada to be used against anti-India activities is highly objectionable. I agree with my co-panelist, Dr. Ajay Kumar, that, should India be doing the same, doing a referendum on Quebec or doing a referendum on the treatment of First Nations, how will Canada react? Let me take it slightly further, but very briefly. You refer to the farm protests. There was needless interference and comments made by Prime Minister Trudeau. But look at how they reacted when there was the freedom convoys. It was absolutely peaceful, but Emergency Act was evoked. So much so that even people who were trying to give food to the protesters, peaceful protesters, they were arrested. So unfortunately, what we are seeing is there are multiple standards, multiple yardsticks, one for Canada, one for the others. Now, this cannot continue. You cannot say we are a friendly country, yet we will allow anti-India activities to continue on the Canadian soil. This Maha is not acceptable.
All right, Manjeet Rai, Several reasons, as I quoted to Gurpreet as well, have been stated by the Indian statement, which includes increase in hate crimes, increase in sectarian violence, as well as anti-India activities. One issue that has lately come before us was that of the killing of Sidhu Moosewala, and Goldie Brar is a gangster who operates out of Canada. Now, I understand that this issue would have been taken up by the Indian sides, considering that this was a murder carried out in broad daylight. These gangs are also operating now in Canada. So ultimately, they are becoming a problem even in Canada, because they have put out pictures of a lot of these gangsters warning people against those elements as well. Do you think all these issues are in some way interconnected, and there were several issues after which India has had to issue this advisory?
You're rightly saying that since small countries, the companion of Mr. Goldie Brar, they have been arrested by those countries, but he is not arrested in Canada. Why? That is the main. Canada government has some giving shelter to the people whom they are doing the anti-Indian forces, which are they roaming the land of Canada. And they are doing against India and India's people. That's why only Punjabi, they are not doing such thing. Such things are done by the people giving the shelter, ISI and etc. They are also doing, they are fetching the money from the people at the name of the Khalistan. That's why they are spreading such referendum, etc. First of all, they try to get the referendum in Punjab, but they badly failed. After that, now they are doing in Canada. Then that is not right, which they are going against the India. So,
right.
Canada government should take action against those people.
Dr. Ajay Kumar, do you think that what Manjeet Rai is, mentioning or indicating here, that it appears that they are providing shelter, are we taking it a bit far, or do you think there is actually a lack of understanding on Canada's end as to what this issue really means for India, or what several of these issues mean for India, including rise in hate crimes?
No. So, if you look at from a historical perspective, the terrible price India has paid during the Khalistan movement, and the number of innocent people who have died from the Sikh community and the Hindu community and everybody else, the police officers and common citizens and everybody else, political leaders. So one is to recognize that even then the remote was from people who were across the border. Now, so Canada understanding that part of our history is one, and a friendly country to ignore that is quite tragic. The second issue is absolutely spot on, is that look, if there is a crime committed and a guy is claiming that he's done that crime, and you continue to shut your eyes to it. The third part is Prime Minister Trudeau's party's cynical politics. It might be politically expedient for them to take support of such elements because they need it. But at the end of the day, it's awfully cynical, and then it's very inappropriate for him to be so woke in other things. If he keeps saying so much of stuff that about liberal and being, and then using the ultimate cynical politics as an Indian citizen, as an ex-member of Parliament, I keep thinking on these issues and as an ex-police officer also. The most important part is, I just want to say something very interesting. The Canadians have been notorious for their treatment of the First Nation people, their indigenous people. Imagine if we start raising our issues, whether it's, and Ambassador Vishnu Prakash correctly said, Quebec is one issue, but I think the indigenous people's treatment is terrible. There were graves of children found in the missionary school in the cemeteries. So if India starts speaking on them, what would happen? Friendly countries never speak or support these kind of activities. So I think Prime Minister Trudeau needs, it's very, very unfortunate, definitely. I don't think the Canadian people think like the way the government of Canada is right now.
Okay.
That's because Indian children go and study there. So the Canadian people, the Canadian government, I think, have very diverse views on this.
गुरप्रीत, आपके पास वापस आना चाहूंगी और मैं स्पेसिफिकली हेट क्राइम्स और सेक्टेरियन वायलेंस के बारे में बात करना चाहती हूँ। ये दोनों एस्पेक्ट्स अभी तक हमने पूरी तरह डिस्कस नहीं किए। आपको लगता है जब हेट क्राइम्स होते हैं ऐसी कंट्रीज में एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी के खिलाफ या इमिग्रेंट्स के खिलाफ, क्या वहां की सरकारें उसको सीरियसली लेती हैं?
देखिए, सीरियसली तो लेती हैं, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है। जब भी हेट क्राइम जहां होता है तो कम्युनिटी के लोग भी इकट्ठा होकर जाते हैं। जहां पुलिस जो है, हमारे फ्रेस्नो शहर में मैं रहता हूं यूएसए में, कैलिफोर्निया में, तो जहां पर एक हेट क्राइम हुआ था तो हमारे कम्युनिटी के लोग इकट्ठा होकर गए थे, जो जेरी डायर हैं जहाँ के हमारे पुलिस चीफ, और उन्होंने एक्शन भी लिया। और एक्शन होता है, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है कि एक्शन नहीं होता है। जहाँ पर किसी की ऐसी कोई अटेंशन नहीं रहती है कभी भी कि
कनाडा के बारे में आपको कुछ जानकारी है? कुछ कनाडा के लोग जो इंडियन इमिग्रेंट्स हैं कनाडा में, कभी वो इन बातों को डिस्कस करते हैं? क्या बताते हैं वो आपको?
कनाडा के बारे में एक तो बात है कि कनाडा का जो लॉ है ना, वो काफी वीक है कई मामलों में। जैसे ड्रग ट्रैफिकिंग की वहां सजा महज 6 साल है। इसी तरह और जो क्राइम है ज्यादा है, जैसे गैंगस्टर वहां बड़े हैं। जहां अमेरिका में गैंगस्टर नहीं है, जो इंडियन ओरिजिन से हैं गैंगस्टर, वो कनाडा में उनकी बहुत बड़ी बड़ी गैंग है और आपस में गैंग वार भी चलती है। अमेरिका में नहीं है, क्योंकि जहां पर रूल लॉ स्ट्रिक्ट है, कनाडा का लॉ इतना स्ट्रिक्ट नहीं है। तो ये भी एक कारण है कि वैसे तो वहां इतना, जैसे वो डिस्कस करते हैं, कभी ऐसा नहीं करते कि हमारे साथ बहुत ज्यादा डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, हमारे साथ हेट क्राइम होता है, ऐसा तो उन्होंने कभी कभी कोई डिस्कस नहीं किया। लेकिन ये जरूर है कि हम देखते हैं कि लॉ वहां का वीक है।
जी, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, we have the last 1 minute left, so I'll give it to you since you have been there and you understand their laws as well. Would you concur with what Gurpreet is saying, that there needs to be strict implementation of laws as far as these issues are concerned, especially if they become a diplomatic problem for the country?
Yes, absolutely. But before that, Maha, I have to recognize and commend the Canadian society for being very tolerant, very inclusive. You know, it's a wonderful society. Let's recognize that.
Sure.
There are elements of the society which are problematic. And it's not new. The race crimes have been there, but these are getting more pronounced now, against minorities, against Muslims, against Sikhs, against Hindus, against black people. So that is there, but it is still an aberration. You asked whether the Trudeau government is conscious of what they are doing. Yes, they are conscious. They know that it is damaging relations with India, but they believe that it is getting them votes. So it is very cynical vote bank politics, where the Sikhs, about 600,000 in Canada, usually vote en bloc and vote in favor of the Liberal Party of Trudeau. So that is the reason. And it's time to call out the Canadian politics and to state what it is. I would think that maybe we should consider issuing a fact sheet officially about what is happening in Canada, because you cannot keep turning a Nelson's eye to what is going on there.
All right. All right. Many thanks to all 4 of you for joining us here on this discussion. Certainly an issue that India has taken up with Canada, but perhaps more needs to be done on this. More discussion and dialogue will perhaps help improve this situation and the diplomatic discomfort that both countries are in at the moment. We're taking a very quick break now. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.